Our final keynote. Really excited about this one. As Paul said, it's not often that we have an astronaut in the house. So it is my privilege to introduce a geoscientist, an explorer, an artist, astronaut, and first Black woman to pilot a spacecraft, Dr. Sian Proctor. Dr. Proctor will share her Space to Inspire story about how she won a contest that not only changed her life, but also changed the way we think about the connection between space exploration and the challenges on the Earth. Welcome, Dr. Proctor.
Who here would love to go to space? Raise your hand. Oh, great, look at that. A lot of people in the audience. Now, who here thinks that they will go to space in their lifetime? Okay, you can see that there was just a few people who were like, yeah, I believe that I will go to space in my lifetime. Well, a year and a half ago, my life radically changed when I won a contest to space. How many of you know about Inspiration 4? Raise your hand. 2 people, 3, just a few of you. Okay, great. This is how my life changed.
The day of launch, I'm going to be thinking about how my entire life has led up to this moment. I was born on the island of Guam, and the reason why I was born there is that my dad worked for the NASA tracking station. And so I feel like space has always been a part of me. When I got that call, that Zoom, and Jared was on there and he said that, they picked me for the Prosperity seat, that I was going to go to space with him and be part of the Inspiration 4. It really was like getting the golden ticket for Willy Wonka. Everything in my life finally came into focus, and I realized that it was all about this moment in time. I won the Prosperity seat for Inspiration 4, and I did that not as a geoscientist or an explorer or an analog astronaut, which are all on my resume. I actually won this as a poet and an artist. We are striving for that Star Trek generation, that idea of a just, equitable, diverse, and inclusive space, or a Jedi space. I'm gonna be the first Black female pilot of a spacecraft ever. And to me, that just blows me away. And I want to encourage the next generation to dream that this is possible. And a Jedi space, that's what that's about. I'm Dr. Sian Proctor, and I'm the mission pilot for Inspiration 4.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And so those of you that raised your hand, would you ever have thought that you could win a contest to space? And then as we're standing here, we're thinking about games for change versus a contest. I want a contest to space, but honestly, I feel like I won the game of life. Because as you saw in that video, I had been chasing space my entire life. And how do you get that golden ticket, that thing that you had been striving for since you can remember? And so for me, you think about games and how we prepare to play games versus contests. And so my preparation started with my education and my family. I was born on Guam because my dad was working on the tracking station for NASA during the Apollo missions. And I don't know if you know this, but today is International Moon Day. Yes, yes, it is. And I am a moon celebration baby. I was born 8.5 months after Neil Armstrong stepped foot on the moon. Are there any other moon celebration babies in the house? Anyone, right? So I grew up with all of this NASA memorabilia that my dad got, Neil Armstrong's autograph, and all of these things that inspired me to want to dream big and want to reach out for the stars. Now, neither of my parents, my dad was a hidden figure, if you saw that movie. Neither of my parents had college degrees. My dad was self-taught mathematician and good enough to be able to work at the NASA tracking station. And his big thing was like, education is the way to open up opportunity. And so I went off and, like a lot of us, that childhood dream of becoming an astronaut slipped away as I got older. And I went off and became a geoscientist. And I was traveling around the world and got my scuba certification, pilot's license, doing all of these things. And then you look and you say, oh, well, that's looks like she was planning on being an astronaut looking at that resume. And when I was 39 years old, 38, somebody reached out to me and said, NASA's looking for astronauts, you should apply. And here I was, a community college professor in Phoenix. And I was like, wait, what? And so I looked it up and I thought, oh, wow, I am qualified to become a NASA astronaut. So in 2008-9, during that selection process, I applied and I got down to the yes, no phone call. And it was a heartbreaking no. Sorry, we're not going to select you. Please try again. The game of life. Sometimes you get it, sometimes you don't. It slips through your fingers. But that didn't deter me because I just went on and I refocused. I became an analog astronaut living in Moon and Mars simulations. And I thought if I can't advance human spaceflight up among the stars, I would do that here on Earth. But the thing about preparing for the game of life is that you're always learning new things. And if you embrace lifelong learning, new opportunities are going to open up for you. And so COVID happens, and creativity is how I got through it. How many of you became bakers in 2020? Sourdough? You get Pop-Tarts. See? How many of you picked up a musical instrument during 2020? A lot of us expressed our creativity in new ways in order to deal with the pandemic. And for me, I became a space artist and a poet. I started doing postcard art and sending it out to people, not knowing that literally 9 months later, it would win me a seat to space. Because in the game of life, one of the things that you need is opportunity. And so during the Super Bowl of 2021, they announced Inspiration 4, the first all-civilian mission to orbit. Was anybody watching? Any Super Bowl watchers? Like avid do you remember this commercial coming on? I did not watch the Super Bowl, but my phone blew up because my friends know that I want to go to space. And they were like, there's a contest to space. If you donate to St. Jude Children's Research Hospital, you can win a seat. And I was like, oh, okay, I can do that. But what I learned later on was that there wasn't just one seat you could win, there were two. There was the generosity seat. If you donated to St. Jude Children's Research Hospital, your name went into a hat that could be drawn out. And then there was the prosperity seat. If you could show your entrepreneurial spirit and offer some service and create a 2-minute Twitter video on why they should select you, you could win a seat to space. And now I had just been doing all of this artwork and I thought, okay, people have been asking, how do I buy it so I can do this entrepreneurial thing? But how do I present myself in this video? So I wrote a poem. I wrote a poem to express the fact, not just say that I'm an artist and a poet, but how do you express that you're an artist and a poet? Would you like to hear my poem? Yes. Okay. Here we go. You've got space. I've got space. We all have space to inspire. That's why we dream of going higher and higher. But what is space if you can't breathe? Let's stop sucking out the air of our humanity. We have a moment to seize the light. Earth from space, both day and night. We have J for justice, to ignite the bold. We have E for equity, to cut past the old. We have D for diversity, to end the fight. We have I for inclusion, to try to make it right. A Jedi space to rally behind, a universal force so big it binds. Inspiration to change the world, a new beginning for us to hold. It's not about you, It's not about me. It's about space to inspire for all of humanity. Science, technology, engineering, and math, sending us out on the explorer's path. But don't forget the arts, the heartbeat of time. Consider sending a poet who knows how to rhyme. So let us drop the mic and close the capsule door, but please make sure Dr. Proctor's on board. My space to inspire is what we need. Inspiration for all of humanity. So it was my creativity that won me my seat to space. So what did it win me? It won me this.
The reason I started SpaceX was to get humanity to Mars. We want to try to make the dream of space accessible to anyone, and ultimately making science fiction not fiction forever.
What they're about to do will change the game entirely. 4 civilians are going to space. They will orbit the Earth for 3 days on their own.
You know my dream of always wanting to go to space. I want to let you know that I got selected.
They start telling me about this all-civilian mission to space.
How many astronauts are going? And that's when she said, none. Haley was diagnosed with bone cancer.
I haven't died and I'm not going to die.
Having cancer made me who I am.
My dream is to be a nurse.
I'm getting to show them what their life can look like after cancer. If I can do it, you can definitely do it.
I went upstairs after the phone call though and told my wife, I think I'm gonna ride a rocket. And she just, what?
I don't think I'll think about the worldly impact this mission is going to have until Chris is back on the ground.
I'm like, why would they choose me? Look at that. But my dad had instilled this idea in me that I could do anything.
I'm commander of Inspiration 4. No matter what, I'm a father first, and that comes with a great deal of responsibility.
What is the speed?
25 times the speed of sound, or 17,500 miles an hour.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
It's getting real.
Our mission to space had to serve a bigger purpose, which is why it's a $200 million fundraising campaign for the St. Jude Children's Research Hospital.
There have been 3 Black female American astronauts who have made it to space. I will be number 4.
Start thinking about what could happen and the risks that are involved.
These people are you and me, and they will kick the doors open to space for the rest of us.
This is where we're going to live for 3 days.
Home sweet home.
When I found out that I had won, you saw that Zoom meeting, I didn't know that there was a Netflix series that went along with it. and so, but you sit there and you get this opportunity, and my friends and my family are like, oh my goodness, this is it. You won the game of life. And I had to tell them, I'm like, no, you don't understand. This is like getting selected for the Olympics. When you make the Olympic team, everybody's like, oh, that's great. You've been trying your whole life to make the Olympic team. And you're like, no, I made the team, but I still got to compete. The competition is still a year away. And I got to get myself in the best shape for that one day when I'm competing. And so I went from learning that I got selected to now training to become the first African-American woman to pilot a spacecraft. I'm a geoscientist, I'm not an engineer. And so I was like, oh, what does this mean? Jared, it was really interesting because when Jared told me on the Zoom that I'd won the seat, the prosperity seat, the next thing he said was, and I want you to be my mission pilot. And in my head, I was like, does he know I just only flew a Cessna 172? And he wants me to fly a Dragon capsule? What does this mean? And so I went into training mode, and over the next 5.5 months, I learned in March of 2021, that I'd won the Prosperity seat, we blasted off to space in September of 2021. So not even 6 months later. And during that time, you got to keep in mind, you can't get hurt, you can't get sick. It's during COVID, and SpaceX made it very clear that I may have won a contest to space, but I had to qualify to be the mission pilot. And if I didn't qualify, I wouldn't fly. And so I went into this study mode. I told my students, like, you can learn anything at any age. And I was like, okay, all of this stuff to become a systems engineer for the Dragon capsule. So some of the training we did, flying with my commander a lot, hypoxia training, simulation at Hawthorne again and again, going over the contingencies and procedures. And the centrifuge here, 0G, and then crew cohesion training with my crew climbing Mount, where did we fly? Mount Rainier. And so all of that training came down to the day when we, as a crew, were going to space. And to put a little bit more into context, SpaceX launched Bob and Doug, the return to flight, in May of 2020, two NASA astronauts. And then in November of 2020, they launched Crew 1, NASA Crew 1, with 4 NASA astronauts. In the spring, I think it was April, they launched Crew 2 to space, which was another 4 NASA astronauts to the International Space Station. So they had done 3 launches of humans, and then they said, we're gonna chuck some civilians up to space for 3 days. How many of you would sign up for that? Yes, I like it. And so, but what was great is that SpaceX said, we are not, since you're not going to the International Space Station, how would you like a cupola or a giant window on the top of the Dragon capsule so that you could look at our beautiful planet? And of course we said, yes, that would be amazing. And so we came together and we flew on September 15th. This screenshot was 14 minutes before lifting off. And everybody, one of the big questions that I get is, were you afraid? When I was sitting there on top of this Falcon 9 rocket in the Dragon capsule, about to leave, was I afraid? And my answer was no, I was ready. Because I had been preparing for this moment my entire life. And I was so much more afraid that it would be taken away from me before I got to the point where I was sitting there. And I just remember sitting in the capsule and having that moment when they're counting down. And then suddenly you go from 3, 2, 1 to ignition. And you feel the thrust pull you back as you start to lift off. And everyone you know and everything that you have is back home, there, watching. As your dream, this lifelong goal, is achieved.
It has been an absolute honor to prepare you for this historic flight. Today, you are truly inspiring the world. We wish you a great mission, good luck, Godspeed, and enjoy the ride.
We blasted off just after sunset. And my family and friends that were there said, and even other people who have been to many launches, said it was one of the most beautiful launches they'd ever seen in their life. So imagine that feeling of lifting off and that childhood dream of going to space finally being fulfilled. But just like the Olympics, this is just the start of the race, because we're now competing for the gold. We blasted off into space, and 10 minutes later, we're in orbit. And in order to get that gold medal, we have to have a successful mission. We have to come back. And so a lot of times people ask me, well, what is my favorite moment when I got up into space? I had many moments that were special, but this is one of my favorites. You're not going to see me because I'm filming. And the reason why I'm filming is because I knew this was going to be a special moment for us, because we're going to open up the forward hatch for the first time. And this is in order for us to be able to go up into that cupola, that beautiful domed window where we can look back on our planet Earth. And so while we're there floating in space, I queued up some special music for my crew members. They didn't know this, but I hit play on the iPad, so you're going to hear music that's playing in real time up in space. And I want you to watch my crew member Haley right here. Watch her face. And what's special about Haley, childhood cancer survivor, St. Jude saved her life. And here she was, never thought that she has a prosthesis in her leg, never thought that she would have the opportunity to go to space. And here she is, floating with me in space as we're opening this up. And she's going to start pulling out this white ribbon to protect the forward hatch. Watch the expression on her face when she looks up through the cupola for the first time.
Oh my gosh.
Holy shit.
Oh my gosh.
Thank you. Yeah. It was such a powerful, special moment to be able to be up there and to capture that with me and my crew members. I had many special moments. One of them is bringing my dad's Neil Armstrong autograph with me to space. My dad passed away when I was 19. And so both of my parents had passed away by the time I'd gone to space. So neither one of them got to see me achieve this childhood dream, you know, this chasing space, this game of life that I'd been going for. But they were there with me in spirit, and particularly being able to bring some of my dad's NASA memorabilia. And then the other thing that I got to do as an artist is that I got to paint in space. And so I drew and painted that while on orbit. This is my Afro-Gaia, Mother Earth, representing the beauty of our planet. But the most special thing to me as a geoscientist was being able to go up into the cupola and get bathed in Earth light. Earth light. All the light on my face is Earth light, the light that's being reflected off of our planet. So it's a lot like moonlight, but only better, more beautiful, more vibrant. And as a geoscientist, I knew that the Earth had a high reflectivity, but it never dawned on me that when you are up there in low Earth orbit, floating and looking out the window at our planet, that you would literally get bathed in Earth light. And so think about when you're outside and you see a full moon rising and you walk out and you walk into the moonlight. Think about how that makes you feel, right? When you're getting cast in moonlight. Now imagine yourself floating in space, looking at our beautiful planet and being bathed in Earth light, and how that would make you feel. And then, afterwards you have to come back home. And what I realized is that in a game of life, with great opportunity comes great responsibility. As it was stated earlier, I became the 4th African-American woman to fly to space and the first to pilot a spacecraft. And I recognize my role among these other amazing women, and not just them, but the women who have broken down barriers throughout history, particularly people like Bessie Coleman. If you don't know who she is, definitely look her up. The first African-American woman to earn a pilot's license back in 1921. She earned it. She couldn't do it here in the United States because of segregation. She had to go to France in order to get her pilot's license and teach herself that. And so just like in my poem, I came back with this desire to share space to inspire, my motto, space to inspire, and this idea of a Jedi space. How do we create a just, equitable, diverse, and inclusive space for all of humanity? And when I'm talking about space to inspire, I'm not talking about outer space, I'm talking about this space, the space you inhabit, the space that makes you, you. This is space to inspire. And how you use your space matters. The things that you do with it, how you express your creativity, how you share your knowledge and wisdom, that all matters. So how you use your space to inspire not only yourself, but those around you and beyond. And can you make that space a Jedi space? Just, equitable, diverse, and inclusive for yourself, your family, your friends, your community, all of those things. And so those are the things that I came back wanting to do. But I also wanted to share the message of how Space to Inspire is also about solving for Earth. Inspiration 4 came together to set a new standard. We were the first all-civilian mission to orbit. My commander, Jared Isaacman, is a billionaire. He could have flown his buddies. Instead, he decided to go to space with 3 random people. Who does that? Not only that, he decided that he was going to give away the seats because he knew it was the first and it was going to be significant. But then he said, he went to St. Jude Children's Research Hospital and said, I want to do the largest fundraiser in your history. $200 million fundraiser. To date, we've raised $250 million and still going because Jared's going up again with a new crew. And so this whole idea of how, because a lot of times people say, well, why space? Space doesn't matter, but solving for space is solving for Earth. When you think about the UN SDGs, Games for Change, all of those things, right? Human space flight, as we go to the moon, Mars, and beyond, is all about efficiency in food, water, energy, shelter, waste management. What do we have wicked problems here on Earth with? Food, water, energy, shelter, waste management, right? And as we drive humanity to these places, all of that creativity, that inspiration, that technology, it's all created here on Earth, where we can use all of that to spin off technologies that will make our planet better. And that's one of the reasons why I'm so passionate about human spaceflight and as a geoscientist. But one of the things that, as an artist and a poet, I'm super excited about is also Earthlight and how I can bring Earthlight down here to Earth and share it with all of you. And one of the best ways to do that is through VR experiences. And so, like I said, I became an artist and poet in 2020. It's 2023. So I feel so fortunate that when I splashed down, I was able to get an X-Arts fellowship with my alma mater, Arizona State University. And so Yeah, ASU. Yeah. And they're helping me bring Earthlight down to Earth through this fellowship that directly targets BIPOC artists, where people like me who are, I like to call myself a seasoned individual, you know, I'm not in my 20s, 30s, or 40s anymore. But how do I get an opportunity to share my message in new ways that I didn't think about before? And so I got selected last year as an X-Arts Fellow, along with 2 other amazing artists. Sultan's here, I think, in the audience. Sultan, where are you? Oh, he's not here. No. But the whole, I feel fortunate because it's allowing me to be able to do things and express myself as an artist that I never thought I would be able to do before. And that's the power of thinking about, when we're talking about games for good, access, creating Jedi spaces, and giving access to voices who don't normally, wouldn't normally have that opportunity. And so ASU has allowed me to do that. I feel so fortunate that I have been able to achieve that goal of going to space, that thing I was chasing my entire life. But with great opportunity comes great responsibility. And so now it's all about how I can share that and inspire the next generation to believe. All of you that raised your hand and then didn't raise it when I said, do you believe that you can go to space in your lifetime? I hope that after hearing this, that you now believe that it's possible that you too can go and experience Earthlight for yourself someday in your lifetime. Thank you. Thank you.